Digivolution.
Anyone who was a kid in the late 90s and early 2000s lived through the same craze, having a pet monster. Whether it was Pokemon or Digimon, we collected the cards, watched the show, and dreamed of having a partner to call our own. We've even covered that classic journey here on the channel, telling the complete story of Digimon Adventure 1 and 2, but then Digimon Tamers came along and turned that fantasy on its head. The premise here was different. What if the Digimon you drew yourself in your school notebook suddenly came to life for real? And what's more, what if the first thing it did wasn't to give you a hug, but something genuinely dangerous? Tamers took our biggest childhood dream and added a layer of brutal reality. It was darker, more grounded, and brought a responsibility we had never stopped to think about. Here, having the perfect partner was just the beginning of the problem. We start with a frantic chase in some kind of digital world. A cute little thing named Calumon is running from an armored beast, Dramon. Out of nowhere, a Dark Tyrannomon shows up to help but almost loses the fight. But then there's a twist. Dark Tyrannomon digivolves into Metal Tyrannomon and simply crushes Dramon, launching Calumon with the force of the explosion straight into the human world. Meanwhile, in our world, a boy named Takato is in a card battle that's practically a mirror of this digital brawl. After winning, he stays behind to organize his cards and ends up finding a so-called blue card he's never seen before. Curious, he swipes the card through his reader, which immediately starts smoking and glitching out, like an old PC trying to run a new game. Late for school, he's forced to stand outside the classroom, but he doesn't waste time. He uses the opportunity to draw his own Digimon, Guilmon, who in his mind is like an Agumon 2, but way cooler. After school, at home, his card reader transforms into a D-Power, basically a real Digivice. Seeing this, he has the brilliant idea to scan his drawings of Guilmon, and a Digi-Egg appears on the screen. At night, he has a hyper-realistic dream about a mysterious girl and her partner, Renamon, destroying another Digimon. He wakes up drenched in sweat, certain that Digimon are real. The next day, his friends think he's losing it, but Takato doesn't care, because he looks at his Digivice and sees the news. The Digi-Egg has hatched. The device starts acting like a GPS, and Takato runs through the city, following the signal to a construction site. And there, right in front of him, Guilmon materializes. The problem? The first thing the big dino does is melt 2 rats and the wall with an attack. Takato realizes instantly the creature he drew could be seriously dangerous. Despite his fear, Takato realizes that Guilmon isn't a killer monster. In fact, the creature seems to recognize him as its creator. Takato's plan: hide a giant dinosaur in a cardboard box and take it home. What could possibly go wrong? Once in his room, he tries to explain to Guilmon that they're partners and that he's his tamer. Meanwhile, an organization called Hypnos is monitoring a Gallantmon that has appeared in the city. And who's going to handle it? The girl from Takato's dream, Rika, and her partner Renamon. The fight is quick and brutal. Rika uses a card to give Renamon a boost. And the Gallantmon, which even evolves into Fugamon, turns into Data in seconds. Rika just says, "We're the best," and takes off. The next day, Takato has to go to school and leaves Guilmon hidden in a fort made of boxes. But Guilmon, bored, decides to look for Takato at school. His adventure ends when the principal runs into him and, upon seeing a dinosaur emerging from a box, panics and pulls the fire alarm. Takato rushes to see what happened and finds the empty box. He runs off, and that's when another student, Henry, figures it all out. Later, Henry finds Takato and reveals that he's also a tamer, introducing his partner, a cute little creature named Terriermon. But the cuteness ends when Terriermon scolds Takato, telling him he isn't qualified to be a tamer if he can't control his Digimon. Takato feels down, but he soon finds Guilmon on the school roof and the two make up, but the peace is short-lived. While searching for a safe hiding spot, Rika and Renamon appear, ready for a fight. The fight kicks off with Renamon throwing Guilmon aside. Takato tries to calm things down, but Rika just wants a brawl, interested in seeing what the unknown Digimon is capable of. Guilmon fights back, and the match is even, so Rika plays dirty. She pulls out an armor card and gives Renamon a gauntlet with a weapon. Talk about a dirty move. When Takato finally convinces Guilmon to back down, he accidentally ends up in the line of fire. Renamon hesitates for a second, and in that moment, Henry and Terriermon arrive to play peacemaker. Rika, annoyed at being interrupted, leaves. The group finds a hiding spot for Guilmon in the park. Later, we see a bit of Henry's life. He has a little sister, Suzie, who thinks Terriermon is just a stuffed animal. Henry even warns his partner never to digivolve near near her. The next day, Takato's friends are talking about the Digimon Queen, the card game champion, and he immediately connects the dots and realizes it's Rika. Later, he sees some suspicious black vans and freaks out, thinking the government has taken Guilmon. But he's fine, and Takato decides to take him for a walk, making up the excuse that Guilmon is just a costume. But the piece ends once again. Guilmon runs into a parking garage, and guess who's there? Rika and Renamon, looking for round 2. Henry shows up again, but it's no use this time. In the middle of the chaos, Terriermon takes a hit from Renamon and digivolves into Gargomon. The problem? The cute creature turns into an out-of-control destruction machine, firing everywhere. He even aims at Rika, but Guilmon, the target of the fight, jumps in front and saves her life. Startled, Rika gets out of there. After the chaos, Gargomon has to stand on his head to calm down, which is both bizarre and hilarious. The next day, a new Digimon appears, Gorillamon, a cybernetic King Kong. The fight begins, but Henry freezes up, not letting Terriermon fight seriously. Then we understand why in a flashback. Henry won a Digimon video game and chose Terriermon. In the game, Gorillamon was a boss who just destroyed everything. To win, Henry made Terriermon become Gargomon, who also went berserk and started shooting at everything. His father said Digimon were just data, but Henry saw that Terriermon was really hurt. This trauma earned him a Digivice and the real Terriermon, but also a crippling fear of letting him digivolve again. Back in the present, the fight is going badly. Takato insists that he let Terriermon fight, and Henry finally gives in. He asks for Takato's training grips card. Which makes a pair of cuffs appear on Terriermon's ears. He uses his own ears to restrain Gorillamon, and Guilmon takes the opportunity to attack. To finish it off, Terriermon fires inside Gorillamon's cannon, blowing up the villain from the inside out. A strategic victory, without having to turn into a machine gun-wielding maniac. Takato's school is covered in chalk drawings, and everyone starts saying it's haunted. Jeri even tells a ghost story, saying she saw a small shadow and footprints on the ceiling. But the big mystery is solved quickly. The ghost is Calumon, a tiny and super cute Digimon who just wanted someone to play with. He was feeling lonely and decided to make some drawings to get everyone's attention. Takato and Guilmon find Calumon and take him to their hideout, where Henry also shows up. They realize Calumon is a lost Digimon and think about finding a partner for him, but all the options are bad. Kazu is too reckless, Suzie would want to play dolls with him, and Jeri would be scared to death. Nobody fits the bill. Guilmon is left to babysit, but Calumon, who is pure energy, convinces him to go to the school to play. They dig a tunnel to get more chalk and make a drawing so huge that it ends up opening a digital field. Out of it comes Guilmon, a small and very angry virus-type Digimon. The fight begins, and the boys don't know what to do. When things get tough, Rika and Renamon show up in Move Aside, the professionals are here style, and defeat Guilmon with a single blow. Takato gets angry at Rika's coldness, treating Digimon as if they were just data to be collected, and tells her to stay away from Calumon. After the argument, Calumon leaves on his own, and the boys conclude that he's a free spirit and doesn't need a partner. Rika's life isn't just about fighting digital monsters, there's also family drama. During a parent-teacher conference, her mother, who is a model, simply leaves for a photo shoot, leaving Rika incredibly upset. It's clear their relationship is very complicated. Soon after, a new digital field appears and off go Rika and Renamon. Takato and Henry follow, of course. This time, the enemy is Calumon. Renamon takes a bit of a beating and, to Rika's irritation, needs help from Guilmon and Terriermon to win. Proud, she tells the boys not to meddle in her affairs. Later, Rika and Renamon wonder why she can't digivolve, and then comes a flashback to explain everything. We discover that Rika was the queen of a card tournament and several Digimon wanted to be her partner, but she didn't want a friend, she wanted the strongest, Renamon. With a blue card, Renamon became real, and Rika's card reader turned into a Digivice. In the past, Impmon appears to provoke her, saying that Rika doesn't truly care about Renamon. Soon after, a giant spider, Dokugumon, appears and gives Renamon a thrashing. The fox is severely injured while protecting Rika, who refuses to run. At that moment, seeing her partner nearly die for her, Rika's heart of ice melts. Her desperation activates the Digivice. And Renamon finally digivolves into Cubimon, an incredible nine-tailed fox. She finishes off the spider in the blink of an eye. The lesson? Cubimon explains that for her to get stronger, Rika needed to genuinely care. It wasn't about power, it was about partnership. Takato decides to test his luck and goes for a walk with Guilmon on the street, like someone taking their dog out. Suddenly, Guilmon starts to fade away, as if he's walking through an invisible Harry Potter-style wall. Takato manages to pull him back just in time. To understand what's going on, he goes looking for Rika and gets her address from a schoolmate. Guilmon, with his Digimon sense of smell, tracks Renamon and leads them to Rika. She invites Takato in, but gets a little annoyed when he tells her he dreamed about her. She immediately starts teasing, saying he has a crush on her. The air is thick with middle school romance vibes. Later, on his way home, the nightmare repeats. Guilmon disappears. Takato panics and calls Henry, who has become the group's tech support. The two get in touch with Rika, who at first doesn't want to get involved, but eventually gives in and joins the rescue team. The team is forming. They track Guilmon to a water tunnel and find him trapped in a digital zone. Basically, he's fallen into a virtual trap that was about to be deleted by a sinister program called Juggernaut. The team arrives in the nick of time and manages to rescue their friend before he becomes a corrupted file, while Takato is at home in full artist mode, imagining what Guilmon's champion form would look like. Impmon is out on the streets acting like a gremlin, causing all sorts of trouble in the middle of the night. At school, the teacher comments on the nightly pranks, and the first thing that pops into Takato's head is, it was Guilmon. His trust in his friend is already shot. At night, Impmon, the devilish little Digimon, finds the naive Guilmon and convinces him to join in on the mischief, saying it's super fun. But right after the first prank, Guilmon realizes this isn't for him and bails, but the damage is already done. Takato sees Guilmon on the street and is convinced he's the culprit. The poor dinosaur tries to explain himself, but Takato, afraid of losing his friend over the trouble, doesn't believe him. In the midst of all this drama, a digital field appears, and out comes a Dramon, a Digimon with a mean look. Rika wants Renamon to fight, but she refuses, saying this fight belongs to Guilmon. It's his moment to prove his worth. The fight begins, but Guilmon is taking a beating. The power difference is absurd. Meanwhile, Terriermon catches Impmon in the act and scares him off, discovering the whole truth. He runs to tell Takato, who is filled with guilt for having doubted his friend. This mix of regret and renewed trust is the trigger. Takato tries using several cards, but nothing works. It's his feelings that make Guilmon digivolve into Growlmon, a giant who destroys Dramon with a single attack. After the battle, Takato realizes the huge problem he's created and curses himself for not drawing Growlmon a little smaller. Now, he has a giant digital T-Rex and no idea where to hide it. The first attempt is to stuff him back into the park hideout, but obviously, he doesn't fit. Thus begins a marathon of bizarre attempts to make Growlmon burn off energy and shrink, running through the city, sitting in a freezing pool, jumping rope, and even making a wish on a shooting star. Nothing works. After a little help from Jeri and some real backup from Henry and Terriermon, they finally give up and hide Growlmon in a tunnel. But the peace is short-lived. Impmon shows up to torment the giant, who ends up running away. The next day, Takato finds the tunnel empty and panics. Terriermon goes on a search mission and finds Growlmon sleeping in the park with a bunch of kids using him as a slide. The brilliant solution they come up with? Camouflage. They paint the dinosaur green so he'll blend in with the trees. Of course, Rika shows up with her usual pessimism to say the idea is ridiculous. It starts to rain. The paint runs, and along with it, Takato's hope. He breaks down in tears, thinking he's lost his friend forever. But when the rain stops, a rainbow appears and as if by magic starts drawing the extra energy out of Growlmon, finally making him turn back into good old Guilmon.
Weird. Not as weird as what I found between Growlmon's toes when we were painting him. True.
Rika is walking around in a philosophical mood, wondering what the deal is with Digivolution. She remembers the first times the Digimon evolved and feels like something is missing. Out of nowhere, Calumon appears wanting to play and jumps into her arms, right as her mother arrives to kill the serious mood. Later, at home, she shoos Calumon away, and Renamon appears. Rika is in that nobody understands me phase, and when Renamon promises to protect her, she gets angry and says she doesn't need a babysitter. Alone on the subway, she feels a bizarre chill, and suddenly suddenly, a sinister Digimon grabs her and takes her to the top of a building. His name is Ice Devimon, and he has the vibe of a Disney villain, going on about how they were made for each other and how the cold suits her. To prove his power, he shows off his collection of frozen Digimon, like some twisted hunting trophy. Meanwhile, Takato and Henry rush over, having already figured out a digital field is active. Rika finally snaps out of her trance and realizes that Digimon aren't just fighting machines. She refuses to be Ice Devimon's partner, who then decides to challenge Renamon to a fight, just to show who's stronger. Renamon arrives but gets beaten badly. Calumon gives her a little boost. She becomes Cubimon, but even that isn't enough. When all seems lost, Guilmon and Terriermon are freed from the ice with the help of some cards. Takato buffs Guilmon with speed and wings, who then grabs Ice Devimon, crashes through the ceiling with him, and finishes him off with a pyrosphere. After the battle, Rika says she hates Digimon and just walks away. Cubimon goes in another direction, leaving everyone with a question mark over their heads. A samurai Digimon named Muziamon tries to invade the real world, but Henry is in pacifist mode and won't let Terriermon fight. A system called Hypnos deals with Muziamon for now, but he vows revenge. Meanwhile, Takato is feeling like the king of the card game after using the same card combination from the fight against Ice Devimon. He gets so excited that he decides to introduce Guilmon to his friends, Kazu and Kenta. Their reaction? They both run away screaming when Guilmon lets out a simple sneeze. Soon after, Muziamon returns with a vengeance, stronger than before, and Guilmon is no match for him. Henry sticks to his "I'm not getting involved" stance until a little girl wanders into the middle of the fight chasing a balloon. Muziamon, who clearly has no heart, goes after her. That's when Henry's protective mode activates. He sends Terriermon into the fight, who saves the girl and digivolves into Gargomon. This time, he's in complete control, no berserking. He finishes off Muziamon quickly, absorbs his data, and even returns the balloon to the little girl, whose mother didn't even notice she was almost skewered by a Digimon. Henry finally understands that some fights are worth fighting and apologizes to Gargomon. And to end on a mysterious note, a man in a suit named Yamaki is watching everything from a distance. The tension between Rika and Renamon is thick, like a couple in a relationship crisis. Each thinks she's self-sufficient and doesn't need the other. To prove her point, Renamon even goes out to fight some Digimon on her own and absorbs their data without any help. Meanwhile, the aforementioned Yamaki shows up again, acting like a secret agent and telling Takato and Henry to stop their little game. In a lighter moment, Jeri finally meets Guilmon and, unlike the others, thinks he's awesome and doesn't run away. Later, a Harpymon appears and Renamon goes one-on-one, but she's getting beaten badly. Rika, despite being sulky, sees her D-power flashing and decides to go help. The problem? She left her cards at home. Lacking a plan B, she improvises. She grabs a stick and attacks Harpymon from behind. In true make-it-work fashion, the attack saves Renamon, but now Harpymon is furious with Rika. Seeing her partner in danger is the trigger Renamon needed. She digivolves into Cubimon and destroys Harpymon without breaking a sweat. And most importantly, she doesn't even absorb the data. Cubimon realizes that what makes her strong isn't the data, but her connection with Rika. The two finally make peace, realizing they're better together and become true partners. In an empty parking garage at night, Takato and Guilmon are beating up a dark lizardmon, but before they can land the final blow, Hypnos, a men in black type group, shows up to spoil the fun. In the confusion, dark lizardmon grabs Takato, begging for help to digivolve, but is tranquilized by Hypnos. Then the boss, Yamaki, arrives. He scolds Takato for treating the fight like a game and takes the Digimon away, threatening to take Guilmon too if he doesn't stop. Back at the hideout, Takato is furious at the idea of Guilmon changing when he digivolves and storms off, leaving poor Guilmon completely confused. Meanwhile, at the Hypnos headquarters, Calumon appears out of nowhere and drives the tracking systems crazy. While the team tries to find the little creature, Yamaki supervises the analysis of Dark Lizardmon. The Digimon screams in pain and begs to be released until it simply vanishes, turning into pure data. Yamaki, cold as ice, orders it all to be deleted. Elsewhere, Terriermon is messing with Henry's computer when some strange images start popping up. but Henry's little sister Suzie enters the room, and he has to pretend to be a stuffed animal again. After school, Kazu and Kenta ditch Takato, and even Jeri tries to ask about Guilmon, forcing him to run away. Yamaki, in a video conference, convinces his superiors to test a program called Juggernaut to deal with the Digimon. He assures them that any problems will just look like an internet error, and after hanging up, calls his bosses fools for underestimating the threat. Later, Takato finally makes up with Guilmon, who promises that even as Growlmon, he'll always be himself. To cap off the day, Yamaki launches Juggernaut, using Dark Lizardmon's data as bait to lure and destroy the others.
They'll come to us.
You're brilliant, sir.
But the plan triggers an alert in Guilmon and Terriermon. Something very, very powerful is coming. Yamaki's brilliant plan to use Juggernaut to suck all Digimon back to the digital world goes wrong. Very wrong. Instead of closing the door, he basically opens a VIP portal to Earth. Rainamon, Terriermon, and Guilmon sense the energy and rush to the source of the problem, where they find Yamaki gloating about his victory. But from the portal emerges an unknown and mega powerful Digimon, a winged tiger that immediately declares that Digimon will dominate the human race. Without a second thought, Rainamon becomes Kyubimon and charges. The problem? The Digivice can't even identify the enemy, and Kyubimon fights blindly, getting thrown from the building and reverting to Rainamon mid-fall. Now it's Terriermon's turn. He becomes Gargomon and, in a very creative way, uses his cannons to climb the building. The fight is intense, but Gargomon is also defeated after running out of ammo. Before falling, however, he notices a pattern in the creature's attacks. Now only Takato and Guilmon are left, but they have Gargomon's intel. Guilmon becomes Growlmon and uses the tactic. When the winged tiger circles to attack, he lands a direct hit. The enemy bites Growlmon's shoulder, and only then do they find out who he is, the Dava, Mihiramon. The weirdest part is that Takato feels the same pain as Growlmon and faints. Unconscious, he meets Growlmon, who asks for one more chance to fight together. Takato wakes up, pulls a blue card, and, with Calumon nearby, activates Matrix Digivolution, turning Growlmon into War Growlmon. The new warrior simply obliterates Mihiramon, who dies cursing the Digimon that ally with humans. And after all that, Kazu and Kenta finally believe that Takato wasn't making stories up. Takato is a bit down because Henry and Rika have other commitments and can't go out on patrol. To cheer himself up, he takes Guilmon to play with his school friends. But the peace doesn't last long. A new Dava, a giant snake named Sandiramon, appears and attacks. Rika and Henry are forced to fight alone until, surprisingly, Impmon shows up to tell Takato they need help. Luckily, the battle is happening right under the park where they are. With a power modify card that Kazu hands him, Takato and Guilmon dig a tunnel and join the fight. Guilmon digivolves to Growlmon, and after the others manage to wound Sandiramon, the strategy comes into play. Takato uses the card, which boosts Growlmon's Pyroblaster, turning it into an energy cannon that hits the Dava head-on, mortally wounding it. Before turning to dust, Sandiramon drops a bombshell. There are still 10 other Davas for them to face. With the threat resolved for now, the Tamers finally take their Digimon to meet Takato's friends. The school kids, who once doubted him, are super excited to see that the monsters from the cards are real, and right there in front of them. Takato and Henry's school class goes on a camping trip, which would be great if not for one detail: how to bring Guilmon along. The solution is worthy of a heist movie. The whole gang gets together to form a human wall and smuggle the red dinosaur to the back of the bus. While Takato distracts the teacher with a camera, the operation is a success. Meanwhile, Terriermon and Calumon get on with no problem, pretending to be stuffed animals. To complete the disguise, Takato has to sit on Guilmon until the teacher falls asleep. Poor guy. After setting up camp, the group relaxes for a bit with a view of Tokyo. Then, a Digimon signal appears, but it's so weak they decide to ignore it. After all, even digital monsters deserve a vacation, right? But the peaceful mood ends when blackouts start happening and the teacher tells a horror story that scares everyone. The next day, the kids go swimming in the river, and even Impmon shows up to act like his usual emo self, complaining about all the fun. But it doesn't take long for him to get in the water and have fun with the rest of the group. The joy, however, is short-lived. A possessed owl appears out of nowhere to deliver a message from its master, some Dava. Now things have gotten serious. The group realizes the weak Digimon from before was bait and that it got strong by stealing energy. The target, the hydroelectric plant. Growlmon and Gargomon go to fight, and after an intense battle throw the bird Dava into the water, where it's destroyed by its own electricity. A shocking end, literally. A kid is organizing his Digimon cards when a strange guy in a yellow jacket bumps into him, purposefully dropping a mysterious card. This card passes from hand to hand until it reaches Henry, who discovers it's an ultra-rare blue card. Curious, he asks his father, John Yu, to analyze it. His father recognizes the code immediately, but decides to play dumb and doesn't tell his son anything. The next day, the trio of Tamers tries to track the card's origin and learns about the man in the yellow jacket. Meanwhile, John Yu has a flashback about his past in a group called the Monster Makers. Later, he runs into Terriermon and Impmon fighting, and to everyone's surprise, he knows exactly what a Digimon is. Impmon attacks him, but Terriermon defends the old man, acting like a true bodyguard. Henry is so confused by the scene that he just runs away. Suddenly, Hypnos detects two new Digimon, Vajramon, the Ox Dava, and Pajiramon, the Sheep Dava. All hell breaks loose, and even in their champion forms, our hero's Digimon are no match. In desperation, Henry uses the blue card. The card, combined with Calumon's power, activates Matrix Digivolution. And Gargomon becomes Rapidmon, a giant green rabbit with an arsenal that would make an army jealous. He erases Pajiramon in the blink of an eye, but Vajramon manages to escape. That night, Henry's father comes clean. He was part of the team that created Digimon, and to top it all off, Vajramon reappears and asks Renamon for a private chat, and she goes. Rika's mother drags her to a photo shoot, but Rika is not the least bit interested in being a model. Things get so uncomfortable that she shoves the camera and storms out of the studio, making it clear she's not one to be pushed around. Meanwhile, Takato and Henry are worried about Renamon's disappearance, as she left with Vajramon. The Digimon alert sounds again. Vajramon has reappeared, and Renamon is with him. The Ox Dava tries to recruit Renamon to the dark side, speaking of a Digimon god, and claiming that humans have abandoned them. Right in the middle of this cult-like pep talk, the gang arrives. The real fight begins when Vajramon tries to attack Calumon. Growlmon and Gargomon jump into action, and Renamon seizes the chance to attack as well, showing exactly which side she's on, her partners. Rika makes Renamon digivolve to Cubimon, but Vajramon is a tough opponent. He insists he will take her by force. Just when everyone's energy is running low, Rika finds a blue card in her deck. It was the power-up they needed. With Calumon's help, she activates Matrix Digivolution, and Cubimon transforms into Talmon, a fox sorceress with an incredible design. Vajramon is furious at her human-like appearance and attacks with all his might, but it's no use. Talmon blocks the blow with the greatest of ease and finishes him off like it was nothing. The fight ends, and Rika finally understands. True strength comes from fighting alongside your partner. Looking at Renamon under the moonlight, she realizes her partner isn't just strong, but beautiful too. It's summertime, and while the younger kids are in the middle of a massive water fight, the main trio is in a serious debate. Takato is in full "they're villains, let's fight" mode. Rika is pissed off about being dragged into the mess, and Henry, as usual, is the thinker of the group, questioning if fighting is the best solution. Unable to agree, they each go their separate ways. Meanwhile, Impmon is in his usual rebellious mood, hating everyone else's happiness and scaring off some girls who thought Calumon was cute. Henry goes to his dojo, but can't focus. His master notices and drops some serious wisdom. The line between good and evil is incredibly thin. It all depends on your point of view. To the followers of the Asura demons, the Devas are the real villains, a true philosophy lesson. Later, a digital field opens and Indramon, the horse Deva, emerges. He immediately starts mocking Impmon, asking why he hasn't digivolved like the others. Before a fight can break out, Rika and Renamon appear, and the Deva leaves, but not before warning that their existence will not be tolerated. Rika and Renamon rub it in Impmon's face that he's too weak to fight alone, especially since he can't digivolve. Enraged, he runs off, shouting that he doesn't need human partners to be strong. Indramon finally materializes completely, and Impmon, full of wounded pride, picks a fight by himself. The battle is a massacre. Indramon simply demolishes Impmon, nearly deleting the poor guy. Witnessing such cowardice, the gang decides that this is true evil and chooses to intervene. Guilmon, Rainamon, and Terriermon digivolve, but even in their champion forms, they're no match for him. Indramon is too strong, and even though he's completely battered, Impmon gets up and charges in again. The situation is grim. The Tamers' Digimon have taken a beating, and Impmon is knocked out in the river. But then, out of nowhere, Yamaki from Hypnos activates a new weapon that begins to disintegrate Indramon, like a video game glitch. However, like all government tech in movies, the machine fails at the crucial moment, and the Dava manages to escape. Yamaki, full of pride, thinks he's won the fight. Little does he know, the next day, Kazu and Kenta show up at the bakery wanting a Guilmon bread, leaving Takato's father completely confused. Kazu proudly gives Takato a blue card he made himself. The episode's big twist involves Henry's father, John Yu. He starts a new job and, surprise, it's at the Hypnos headquarters. Yamaki explains that John Yu and his college friends are essentially the fathers of the Digimon and that he now needs their help to defeat a powerful entity, the Digimon Sovereign. Indramon returns for another round, and not even army helicopters can handle him. In classic Godzilla movie fashion, the fight is impossible again. The Digimon gets severely beaten, even with a bunch of power-up cards. Kazu insists that Takato use the blue card he drew, but Takato is afraid it'll backfire. That's when Calumon gives Takato a mental boost. He finally uses the card. The crest on Calumon's head glows, and Growlmon undergoes a Matrix Digivolution, becoming War Growlmon. The new Digimon is gigantic and simply annihilates Indramon with a laser beam. 6 Davas down, 6 to go. The episode focuses on Jeri, who clearly has a crush on Takato and goes looking for him. Kazu and Kenta find her and drag her to the park to spy on the Tamers. She tries to play it cool, saying she doesn't even like Digimon, but then a bunch of cards fall out of her pocket. We know the truth, Jeri. The action starts when a new Dava, a mechanical rat named Kumbiramon, attacks Jeri and Calumon, and out of nowhere, literally from a fountain, Leomon appears to save the day. Jeri immediately decides, he's my Digimon partner. The problem? Leomon is completely clueless, doesn't know what a tamer is, and Jeri doesn't have a D-power to make it official. What follows is a comical chase, with Jeri running after Leomon through the park. Takato calls his friends, who find the story pretty dubious, but curiosity gets the better of them, and they head over. The rat Dava returns with an army of clones. Jeri borrows Takato's D-power and tries to use some cards, but nothing works. It becomes clear that becoming a tamer isn't that simple. Gargomon helps resolve the conflict, and with that, 7 are down. But the emotional damage to Jeri is done. She breaks down crying, devastated that she isn't special like her friends. Leomon, sensing her sadness, leaves so he won't get his heart broken too, showing that a connection is already there. The episode ends with Jeri feeling completely useless. To become a real tamer, she'll have to overcome this defeatist attitude. The city of Shinjuku is shaking like a leaf, with non-stop earthquakes. In the midst of this chaos, Henry has to retrieve Terriermon from his little sister Suzie, who is terrified. The girl gets so upset that she blurts out, "I wish you weren't my brother," harsh. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang gathers. Jeri, the newcomer, decides she wants to learn how to play the Digimon card game and whips out a deck full of rare cards that Kazu and Kenta could only dream of owning. The jealousy is real, but Rika, the Digimon queen, arrives to give the girl a private lesson. Henry shows up with a Chinese zodiac poster and has a Sherlock Holmes moment. He figures out that the Divas are based on the 12 zodiac animals and that they've already defeated 7. The tiger, snake, rooster, sheep, ox, rat, and horse. 5 remain, and the question is, who's next? Suddenly that weird kid who keeps showing up out of nowhere appears again, staring at Calumon. He lets out a scream and runs off. Jeri, curious, follows him, forcing everyone else to tag along. That's when the ground truly trembles, and a giant portal opens in the middle of the city. From the digital rift emerges the pig Dava, Vicaralamon, a colossal monster that shows up and starts wrecking everything, like a porcine Godzilla. Growlmon, Hubimon, and Gargomon try to take on the beast, but their attacks barely scratch it. At Hypnos HQ, Yamaki panics and decides to use his secret weapon, the Juggernaut. Henry's father tries to stop him, but it's too late. Witnessing the destruction, Takato, Rika, and Henry receive blue cards and their partners digivolve to the ultimate level.
Matrix Digivolution activated. Matrix Digivolution.
Wargrowlmon, Talmon, and Rapidmon are ready to fight. But right at the crucial moment, Yamaki pushes the button and unleashes the Juggernaut to erase all Digimon from existence, including our heroes. Yamaki's plan works about as well as putting out a fire with gasoline. The Juggernaut starts destroying everything, and not even Talmon's shield can hold it back. Just when it seemed Yamaki would get his happy ending and delete the Digimon forever, the tables turn. That weird kid reveals his true form. He is Makuramon, the monkey Dava, and with absurd ease, he simply destroys the Juggernaut and the entire Hypnos base. The irony? This ends up recharging the energy of all the Digimon, including the giant pig, which resumes its destruction of the city. As Hypnos crumbles, Yamaki watches in shock, seeing his life's work turn to dust. But the Tamers don't give up. Inspired by Takato, they transfer their strength to their partners, who manage to break free. In a combined attack, Wargrowlmon, Talmon, and Rapidmon finally send Vikaralmon to the recycle bin. But, in the middle of the chaos, Makuramon acts like a master pickpocket and kidnaps Calumon, fleeing to the digital world. Leomon tries to stop him but is intercepted by Makuramon and a new Dava, Guilmon, who leaves him gravely injured. Jeri's concern for Leomon is so strong that a D-power materializes for her out of thin air, and with it, she manages to heal her partner. The battle is over, but the city is in ruins, and worst of all, the Davas got what they wanted. Now there's only one thing left to do: go to the digital world to rescue Calumon. The dust has settled, the city is a mess, and now it's time to deal with the parents. While Takato's and Rika's mothers are freaking out, Henry's father is already in the loop. He even reveals that the D-Power, or ARC, was a secret project by scientists from around the world, a dream he had so that children wouldn't have to fight alone. At Jeri's house, the mood is different. We see a baby picture of her with a woman who isn't the one in the kitchen, and she treats her hand puppet with special care. She finds Leomon and with sparkling eyes, asks him to tell her about the digital world, eager for an adventure. Meanwhile, Rika's grandmother proves she's the coolest of all. She had already noticed Renamon and thought she was a fox spirit protecting her granddaughter, which, let's be honest, isn't far from the truth. Renamon promises to protect Rika with her life.
I will protect her with my life. I promise you.
Leaving the tamer deeply moved. And speaking of convenience, guess where Guilmon finds a portal to the digital world, underneath his little doghouse in the park. Problem solved. At school, Takato gets detention, but Jeri, Kazu, and Kenta decide to stay with him in a farewell-like atmosphere. They tell their teacher they're going to the digital world, and she, desperate, promises to keep their secret. The night is for goodbyes. Takato is brutally honest with his parents, and his father, proud, gives him his full support. Henry sends an email to his dad. Rika simply gets dressed up to make her mother happy, and the rest either lie or just leave a note. When they are all ready to jump into the portal, Yamaki appears, but instead of stopping them, he hands the group a comm device. It's the villain's redemption. With everything set, the gang takes a deep breath and dives into the unknown, heading for the digital world. The gang finally arrives in the digital world, but their first stop isn't exactly a paradise. It's an infinite space of symbols that Renamon calls the Digital Information Ocean, a place where you can walk forever and get nowhere. Jeri, with her protagonist's sixth sense, points to a black hole and decides that down is the way to go, and everyone starts to fall. During the fall, they pass through barriers that rip Takato's and Guilmon's backpacks. The result? Goodbye bread. Most of their snacks are now lost to digital space. They land on red sand, like a Martian desert. And the weirdest part? You can see Earth in the sky, all distorted, looking like a surreal painting. Useless data spheres roll across the desert, and beams of light appear in the sky. Renamon figures out that each of these beams is like a Google search from the real world. If you get caught in one, you could end up on some random person's computer screen. As the first humans there, Takato tries to pull a Neil Armstrong and plant a flag, but the tech doesn't cooperate. Kenta's photos come out all pixelated, and the cell phones have no signal. Isolated and hungry, Jeri, Kazu, and Kenta are already starting to whine. Rika, always the most observant, spots some towers on the horizon, but when they get there, it's a letdown. They're just rocks the digital world's algorithm generated to look like towers. Back with the Tamers, a Meramon appears and immediately goes after Guilmon, thinking they were the Davis. Leomon, playing security, restrains the firehead and clears up the confusion. At night, Takato wakes up to a stampede. It's the Juggernaut, some very large plant rock Digimon. Everyone manages to escape except for Meramon, who, in a fit of heroism or stupidity, tries to take them on and gets deleted. The first friend they make in the digital world is already gone. The next day, a mini Juggernaut tells them they need to go back through the desert, and to make matters worse, one of those data beams appears. In the rush, Kazu and Kenta get lost and head straight into danger. Remember Kazu, Kenta, Rika, and Renamon almost getting swallowed by a data beam? Well, they got swallowed. The group ends up in a new place, a desert with a village of tree-like houses. There they meet Digimon and Babamon, a super nice elderly Digimon couple who love having visitors. Their main form of entertainment is basically bickering with each other, but they're happy to have company to break the monotonous routine. The couple offers the group a feast fit for a king, and even lets them spend the night, hospitality the gang hasn't seen since they left home. The next morning, Kazu and Kenta have the brilliant idea of asking the old couple to be their Digimon partners. Things get so awkward that the two boys end up pretending to be Digimon and fighting each other to show them how it works. After that cringe-worthy display, the group realizes it might not be a good idea and decides to move on, leaving the elderly couple behind with their marital spats. It was a quick stop, but at least they got a good meal and a warm bed. While Rika and the others are on their own adventure, Takato's group continues the search for their lost friends. They find a bizarre town made of e-waste, where the only moving things are digital tumbleweeds. Very Wild West. Suddenly, a giant black motorcycle called Behemoth appears on the horizon. It has no rider and looks like an evil transformer, charging straight for the gang, with a special focus on Guilmon. During the chase, the bike destroys one of the houses and deletes a Chuchidarmon, which is a kind of mud bear. Luckily, Leomon manages to save its child. The village elder explains that this place is the village of discarded data, and that the demonic motorcycle shows up every now and then to wreak havoc. Takato, with his hero's heart, wants to stay and help. Henry, more pragmatic, reminds him they have more important missions. The classic responsibility versus mission conflict ensues. The next day, the bike returns. Gargomon, Leomon, and Guilmon try to fight it, but the vehicle is like the Juggernaut, unstoppable. Guilmon manages to jump on the bike and kicks off its tiny rider, a metal Coromon. The little guy explains that Behemoth possesses whoever rides it, and Guilmon goes berserk, even attacking Takato. After being stopped by a modify card and a strike from Leomon, he's finally freed. The bike, riderless, falls into a fiery portal. Meanwhile, in another part of the digital world, Impmon encounters a giant dog, Dava, Katuramon. The guy offers him a deal, the power to digivolve in exchange for destroying the Tamers. Impmon, after some thought, accepts. He is thrown into a lava pit and is granted the power to become Bilzamon, his megaform. By the sovereign Zhuqiaomon. As a bonus, he even tames the Behemoth motorcycle. The fiery portal reopens in the village and out comes Bilzamon riding the bike. He simply ignores everyone and rides off. Now, in addition to the Devas and the search for Calumon, the gang has a new, major problem. Their former friend, now superpowered. Rika's group is camped out near the flag they planted, hoping the rest of the gang will show up there. But Rika's patience is short, so she and Renamon head out to search, leaving Kazu and Kenta on watch. Meanwhile, Takato's crew arrives at the flag's location and finds no one. It's the perfect miss. Guilmon, with his detective-like sense of smell, picks up Renamon's scent and starts following the trail. Along the way, Renamon realizes Kazu and Kenta are following her and Rika, who gets pissed at the two useless kids tagging along. Before the argument can escalate, a crazy data stream sucks everyone up and throws them into a bizarre place in the clouds, filled with giant gears. A ticking sound is heard and they find a giant clock with its second hand stuck. Rika, who can't see something broken without wanting to fix it, goes to give it a nudge. A so-called Clockmon tries to warn her not to touch it, but it's too late. The gears stop, and suddenly, a Megadramon emerges from the clouds. Renamon attacks but is thrown aside. Rika uses a card to digivolve her into Kyubimon, but it's still not enough. She takes a barrage of missiles and falls into Rika's arms. Just as Megadramon is about to deliver the final blow, Cyberdramon appears out of nowhere and starts to delete the enemy. His tamer, Rio Akiyama, shows shows up and stops him from finishing the fight, even using a whip to control the beast. Rio introduces himself, and Kazu and Kenta freak out when they realize he's Rio Akiyama, the Digimon King. Later, the two start teasing Rika, reminding her that she always came in second to him in card tournaments. That's the trigger. Rika gets fed up and decides to go on alone. Henry and Takato's group is walking through a black and white village, looking like an old-timey movie. Guilmon and Terriermon find some food, but discover the hard way that it was spoiled. Suddenly, they run into Kazu, Kenta, and the new star of the show, Rio. The first question is obvious. Where's Rika? They explain that she took off because she couldn't stand being teased for being Rio's runner-up. Meanwhile, the villain Makuramon continues his search for Calumon, riding his dragon, Majiramon. Calumon, for his part, is on his own adventure, using the Tamer's flag as a superhero cape. Rio takes the gang to spend the night in a giant castle. There, Takato gets a little down after reading a letter from his mother. The next day, Rio shows them the way back, which is a floating spiral staircase. Calumon, completely by accident, bumps into a data ball and, while playing, passes by some Woodmon. His presence causes the crystal on his forehead to glow, which makes the Woodmon digivolve into Cherrymon. This light becomes a beacon, attracting both Makuramon and the Tamers. The fight begins. Cyberdromon senses Majiramon's power and charges in. Leomon, Gargomon, and Growlmon try to help, but they can't even scratch the dragon. Then Rio whips out a card, Yu-Gi-Oh style, and makes Cyberdromon grow to Majiramon's size. The fight turns into a kaiju movie, and Cyberdromon wins easily. The problem is, he gets so amped up that he doesn't want to stop fighting, forcing Rio to distance himself from the group to try and control his out-of-control partner. Takato wakes up in a cave with almost everyone, minus Henry, Rika, and their partners. Meanwhile, Rika and Reinamon are sleeping in a swamp, and Bilzamon is out and about, destroying everything in sight just to test his new powers. The gang decides to look for Rika at the flag point, but she's gone. Suddenly, a digital storm begins because back in the real world, the Hypnos agency has decided to turn its machines on again. The PDA Yamaki gave Takato miraculously works for a few seconds, and he manages to send an email. Elsewhere, Rika is complaining of thirst, and some strange beings, the Digignomes, lead her to a river. Out of nowhere, she's swept away by a flash flood. Who saves her? None other than Calumon. But an even bigger wave is coming. Renamon grabs them both, but the wave sends them flying. To save themselves, she digivolves to Kyubimon. It's then that they finally find the rest of the group. The joy is short-lived because Bilzamon appears. Kyubimon immediately recognizes the brute as Impmon. She becomes Taumon to fight, but before the battle can begin, the Juggernaut program is activated at full force, and the digital world turns into a blender. Taumon creates a barrier to protect the group, but Katuramon appears, shatters the shield with a single blow, kidnaps Calumon, and vanishes into the chaos. To make matters worse, the storm sucks Takato in one direction and Henry and Terriermon in another. The group is separated again, and the situation has gotten even worse. We start with Calumon trapped in a flying cage being carried towards a sinister red tower. Meanwhile, in the desert, Jeri, Leomon, and the rest of the gang are searching for Henry, Terriermon, and Takato. The mood sours when Rika, with her heart of ice, snaps at Jeri just for asking if Calumon was okay. Reinamon, always the most sensible one, tells Rika to cool it, and peace is restored. Trying to liven things up, Kenta offers to be Guilmon's temporary tamer, but gets rejected, and the Digimon runs off. Kenta follows and ends up falling into quicksand, taking everyone down with him. The fall, however, leads them to a forest with a lake, like a secret passage to Narnia. There, they find Andromon, a robot who fancies himself a hero, fighting with a so-called Orochimon. And speak of the devil, Orochimon appears, an 8-headed serpent, basically a Digimon version of a Hydra. Andromon attacks with missiles, but they don't even tickle it. Orochimon retaliates and sends the robot flying. The big boss glares at Jeri, but Leomon steps in to protect her, and the serpent takes off. They find a village of Gekomon who are forced to make milkshakes for Orochimon to keep him from devouring them, like some kind of protection racket. They heal Andromon, who de-digivolves to Guardromon, but then Orochimon kidnaps Jeri. Leomon tries to save her, but the monster is stronger in the water. Jeri, very cleverly, tries to get the serpent drunk on milkshakes, but the plan backfires. The drink only makes him stronger. Guardromon comes up with a plan, and everyone heads out for the rescue. During the fight, the heroes discover Orochimon's heads are fake. That's when Jeri pulls a Yu-Gi-Oh, uses a Lady Devimon card, and Guilmon finishes the villain with a single blow. Amid the celebration, a D-power appears for Kazu, making him Gargomon's tamer, and Kenta, he gets left in the dust, the only one in the group without a partner. Meanwhile, in the real world, Hypnos agents almost catch a mysterious man named Shibumi, but he vanishes in a puff of smoke in classic Dungeon Master style. Back in the digital world, the gang needs to get out of a submerged cave. Terriermon punches a hole in the wall, and Henry, thinking fast, uses a Frigimon card to freeze the gushing water, just like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. In the midst of the chaos, Takato discovers that his pager, which is tougher than an old Nokia brick phone, still works and sends a message to Yamaki. The problem is, Yamaki is in a meeting with all the parents, and the message is a distress call. To avoid causing a panic, Takato becomes the group's public relations officer and starts pretending everything is fine, replying to messages on behalf of everyone. That's when Henry has a Matrix moment. He realizes that in the digital world, things only happen if you believe they will. To test this, he stays underwater for 5 minutes and comes out completely dry. The power of positive thinking, people. After a misunderstanding with a Divermon, they find an exit and end up in a giant mysterious library. There, they meet a semi-transparent god, a philosophical ghost who only speaks in bumper sticker philosophy. He reveals that he was part of the monster makers and explains that the Digignomes, little glowing creatures, used Takato's drawings to create Guilmon. This sends Takato into an existential crisis. If Guilmon is just a bunch of data, is their friendship real? Before he can completely freak out, a light sucks them upwards to the next level of the digital world. The ghost? He stays behind to take a nap. Takato, Henry, and Terriermon are boarding the Ark, the ship that rescued them. Henry starts playing with Terriermon's ears and thinks of his sister, Suzie. And speaking of her, the little girl is super bored at the playground in the real world. Suddenly, a digital portal opens right above her. The Ark flies by, Suzie spots Terriermon inside, and as if by magic, she starts floating towards the portal before her father can reach her. Suzie lands in the digital world and quickly realizes this isn't Disneyland. She mistakes one Digimon for Terriermon, hangs her coat on another that rips it to shreds, and gets a shock when she tries to play with some data bubbles. Desperate, she screams for Henry and Terriermon, who hear her call from afar. Nearly falling off a cliff, she finds a bridge and comes face to face with Antillamon, a giant rabbit with a no-nonsense look who is one of the Davis. Antillamon tells Suzie to go home, but the fearless girl climbs onto her head. The giant rabbit tries to shake her off, but the monkey Makuramon appears and tries to kidnap Suzie to use her as a bargaining chip with the bosses. Antillamon isn't having it. She hears the girl's screams and returns to save her. Right as the fight breaks out, the Ark with the boys comes crashing in, Fast and Furious style. Antillamon protects Suzie and defeats Makuramon. At that moment, a pink D-power appears for Suzie, making her the Dava's partner, but the system doesn't allow this union, and a red beam strikes Antillamon, causing her to de-digivolve into Lotmon, a cute brown version of Terriermon. In the end, after all that drama, Suzie tries to pick up her new partner, but she's too heavy, and the girl falls to the ground. The D-power didn't come with super strength. We open with Calumon trapped at the top of a tower, Rapunzel style, only without the hair to escape or any powers to help. Basically, he's in a real jam. Meanwhile, Rika's group is lost in a digital desert. Kenta is in a total slump, wanting to go home, but Kazu scolds him, saying they can't give up before finding the others. On the other side of the map, Takato, Henry, and little Suzie are on a plane that's emptier than a mall on a weekday. Suzie is having fun with the Digimon, while the older kids try to figure out what the mysterious Shibumi meant. They learn from Lotmon that Calumon is in danger, but she warns them. Going after him is a suicide mission because the area's boss, Juggernaut, is no joke. In the boss's palace, Juggernaut himself is chatting with his henchman, Katuramon. He suspects that Beelzemon, the newly empowered Digimon, could be a problem and sends Katuramon to deal with the supposed traitor. Back on the plane, Takato decides to play the hero and scout the area, but the plan falls apart when Beelzemon appears out of nowhere. Terriermon digivolves to Rapidmon to try and hold him off, but gets so badly beaten he doesn't even stand a chance.
Double impact!
In the blink of an eye, a data stream sucks up the desert group and drops everyone in the same location. Katuramon shows up just to announce that all the traitors are now gathered. Beelzemon charges in, but it's Guilmon who confronts the biker. He gives Beelzemon some straight talk, telling him that having power doesn't make you truly strong. But Beelzemon has no patience for a lecture and strikes Guilmon with his claw. Guilmon begins to dissolve into data, urging Beelzemon to wake up and offering a final word of strength to Jeri, who falls into total despair. Witnessing the scene, Takato completely loses it. Consumed by rage, he forces Growlmon to digivolve to War Growlmon and in a cry of hatred, pushes him to the mega level. The result is terrifying. Guilmon becomes Megidramon, a demonic dragon. Takato realizes the monstrosity he's created, and his digivice shatters into 1,000 pieces. The fight with Beelzemon is so intense that the entire digital world begins to shake as if it's the end of the world. Takato, seeing the monster his partner has become and Jeri's terrified reaction, snaps back to reality, consumed by guilt. Back on Earth, the Hypnos crew sees the digital hazard alert flashing on their screens, showing that the problem is serious and affecting both worlds. In the midst of the chaos, Makuramon appears to lecture Beelzemon, but the biker has no patience for sermons. He erases the monkey Dava and absorbs his data on the spot. Rapidmon and Calumon try to help, but Beelzemon, now boosted by Makuramon's power, traps them and prepares to delete them too. In a quick move, Rika and Henry use a card to save Rainamon and Terriermon, but the data of their ultimate forms is gone, becoming a snack for Beelzemon. With this sinister upgrade, Beelzemon finally manages to take down Megidramon with a powerful kick to the chest. Jeri, still in shock, blames Takato for turning Guilmon into a monster. Devastated, Takato approaches the unconscious Megidramon and apologizes. As Beelzemon prepares to finish off Takato, the boy has a vision, a dream where he and Guilmon can start over. This moment of clarity reunites him with his partner, who reverts to his rookie form. Together they rise, and then the unexpected happens. Takato and Guilmon merge. A blinding light fills the area, and from it emerges Gallantmon, Guilmon's true mega form, an imposing knight, ready to settle the score with Beelzemon and show him what real power is. The clash of titans begins, Gallantmon versus Beelzemon. The fight is neck and neck until Beelzemon summons his sinister bike, Behemoth, to gain an advantage. Gallantmon doesn't let it slide and destroys the bike with a blow so powerful it shakes the entire digital world. The big boss Jukiyamon, seeing the commotion, acts like any good villain and uses the distraction to send his last Dava, Katuramon, to eliminate Lopmon. The henchman almost succeeds in erasing Suzie and Lopmon, but Terriermon jumps in front and takes the hit. Rainamon appears and gets everyone out of there. Gallantmon witnesses the scene and pulverizes Katuramon, but this only makes things worse. Beelzemon absorbs the Dava's data and becomes even stronger. The battle rages on. Beelzemon attacks Kazu and Kenta's group, but Gallantmon appears again to defend them. That's when it finally clicks for Kenta. That incredible knight is Takato. At the climax of the fight, Beelzemon manages to corner Gallantmon, but as he's about to deliver the final blow, Guadramon, in an act of courage, fires his missiles and creates an opening. Gallantmon seizes the chance and uses his Shield of the Just attack, knocking Beelzemon out. He is about to end it all, but Jeri intervenes. With a trembling voice, she says there's been too much death already. Her words reach Gallantmon, who decides to spare Beelzemon. Jeri's kindness seems to finally break through the biker's tough exterior, and, moved by her gesture, he leaves without fulfilling his contract. With the battle over, Takato and Guilmon separate. A new golden digivice appears before them, symbolizing the bond that has grown even stronger after all this madness. The gang is heading to Jukielmon's castle, but the team isn't at full strength. Jeri is still down in the dumps over Leomon's death, and Henry, in full overprotective big brother mode, doesn't want Suzie getting into danger. Kazu and Kenta are on babysitting duty, so only Rika, Takato, Henry, and their partners set off on the mission. When they arrive, Henry gets straight to the point with the boss. Give Calumon back. To show they're not messing around, the three partners digivolve to their ultimate forms. Rapidmon tries to attack, but his cannon suddenly vanishes. What kind of bug is this? Jukiyamon, the giant fiery peacock, tries to bring Lopmon over to the dark side, but she refuses the offer. Enraged, he attacks. Suzie, watching the fight through her digivice, decides to go full Supergirl. She climbs as high as she can and wishes with all her might for Lopmon to be okay, and it actually works. Her digivice makes her fly towards the castle. Meanwhile, Henry blames himself for not noticing Terriermon's injury, but his partner reminds him he's not alone in this. At that very moment, Suzie arrives flying, giving Terriermon the boost he needs to get up and fight again. With renewed motivation, Henry finally merges with his Digimon, creating Mega Gargomon. The new giant robot is a machine of destruction. It fires missiles to bring down Guilmon. The gang celebrates their victory until the beast gets back up as if nothing happened. A classic video game boss with a second health bar. While the Tamers are in deep trouble, back in the real world, the adults, including Yamaki, are trying to build an ark to bring the kids home. The problem is, the project is so complex that even the Hypnos supercomputer is struggling to process it all. Back in the digital world, Guilmon attacks again. Renamon becomes Talmon and creates a magic shield to protect the group. The shield holds for a moment but soon gives out, and the next attack hits its mark. Teriamon and Guilmon try to fight back, but their attacks barely scratch him. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning cuts through the sky and stops the attack. It's Azulongmon, another sovereign Digimon, who has come to lay down the law. He tells Guilmon to stop attacking the humans and focus on the true enemy. What enemy? Guilmon insists that humans are the threat, but Azulongmon reveals that the conflict is much older. Apparently, there is an unknown enemy that is neither human nor Digimon. The catalyst to defeat it was hidden in the form of a Digimon. Guilmon doesn't like the sound of that and attacks to test the humans. Takato and Guilmon merge into Gallantmon, and the clash of titans begins, but Azulongmon interrupts them again. Meanwhile, Rio and Cyberdramon find another sovereign who is watching a rift where a fourth sovereign, Behemoth, is fighting something. The lore deepens when a man named Shibumi appears out of nowhere and explains. The enemy is a program called the D-Reaper, a type of antivirus that deletes artificial intelligences that evolve too much. The problem, the D-Reaper also evolved and became stronger than the sovereigns themselves. And deep inside a pit, Calumon sees bizarre red bubbles rising. The new mission is clear: rescue Calumon. The sovereigns send the Tamers to the location, and even Rio, after seeing the mighty Behemoth emerge battered from a fight, joins the rescue team. Upon arrival, they find the problem: strange red bubbles that float around and simply delete everything they touch. Rika, ever impulsive, decides to go ahead with Renamon to grab Calumon, with Rio right behind her. She manages to reach the small Digimon, but is nearly deleted by a bubble. Rio saves her and causes a cave-in to buy them some time. The rest of the team rappels down using Azulongmon's beard as a rope. Yes, you read that right, but the bubbles return with a vengeance. Rika decides to face the threat head-on to protect the others. In a moment of pure synchronicity and trust, she and Renamon finally merge, bio-merging into Sakuyamon. The new warrior, with her fox priestess look, is pure power and elegance. With a single strike, she destroys all the D-Reaper bubbles, leaving everyone speechless. Just when they think the danger has passed, a giant geyser of red goo erupts from the ground, spreading the D-Reaper everywhere, and one of those pieces gets way too close to Jeri. The D-Reaper is cornering Calumon, and the sovereigns lay it on the line: unleash your power. Then the Diginomes appear, like a fairy godmother, and grant Calumon's wish to help everyone. A bright light shines and spreads throughout the entire digital world. The result? Mega-level Digimon pop up everywhere, ready for a brawl. It's like Avengers Endgame, but with Digimon. After the light show, Calumon faints, but Rika is there to catch him. Suddenly, something falls from the sky. Kenta goes to investigate and finds a tiny pink Mega Digimon, Marine Angemon. The little guy latches onto Kenta, but he, completely focused on the mission, sends his new friend into the war with the rest of the army. Yamaki and Janyu send an urgent message. The Tamers have 40 minutes to get to the ark that has come to rescue them. The group hops on one of Azulongmon's clouds and gets out of there. The D-Reaper's goo tries to catch them but misses and hits Earth instead, causing chaos in the Hypnos system. When they reach the meeting point, Rika and Renamon leave to find Impmon. No one gets left behind. Meanwhile, at Hypnos, Janyu has a brilliant idea: use the memory of every PC in the world to calculate the ark's route. Basically, they turn the internet into a global supercomputer. Rika and Renamon find Impmon and rush back. The ark finally arrives, and the Tamers face that classic movie dilemma: board now or wait for Rika. The gang starts boarding the ark, but Takato is frozen, refusing to leave without Rika. Speaking of whom, Rika is coming at full speed riding Cubimon, even using a speed card for a turbo boost. The ark begins to move, and Rio and Cyberdramon head out to find Rika. Takato runs to get on but trips and falls. The others form a human chain to pull him up, but it's no use. He and Calumon plummet. A desperate Guilmon yells for the ark to stop, and believe it or not, the ship obeys. At that exact moment, Rika and Rio arrive. Everyone gets on the Ark and the Digimon revert to their rookie forms. The place is packed, like a bus during rush hour. In the midst of the chaos, Kenta discovers that Marine Angemon hid in his pocket with a Digivice. Just like that, they're partners. With everyone on board, the Ark closes and departs, but the mood darkens when they look at Jeri, who is pale and completely unresponsive. Suddenly, the Ark stops again. The D-Reaper is attacking, the path of light disappears, and the ship begins to fall. Takato begs the Ark to take them home. The ship connects to his PDA and responds, "Okay." The Ark dives towards the real world in a super turbulent journey and breaks apart shortly after arriving. Their families are waiting. There are tears everywhere. Kenta hugs his parents, Kazu gets an earful, Ryo's father is stern, Henry is relieved, and Takato is overjoyed. Impmon, with no one, just walks away. Jeri's father is incredibly insensitive, so Takato offers to walk her home. On the train, Takato tries to confess his feelings to Jeri, but she doesn't even react, just reads the packaging of a snack. Friend-zoned. Hard. The poor guy is crushed. When they get there, her father drags her inside, where she meets her stepmother and half-brother and gives a super creepy smile. To top it all off, Takato sees on TV that the D-Reaper has followed them to the real world. The fight isn't over. With the D-Reaper causing an apocalypse in Shinjuku, the Tamers are scattered. Henry's family has taken shelter with his sensei. Rika, her mother, and her grandmother are in an apartment outside the city. The Hypnos crew is in a van, trying to figure out what's going on, and Impmon finds a note with his picture at a house. Rio is being hounded by the press, who want to know where he's been for months. His father, as usual, is furious. Meanwhile, Calumon is playing with Jeri's half-brother, Masahiko. The boy falls and hurts himself, and Jeri simply pins him to the ground, saying that suffering must be eliminated. She's in full-on Wednesday Addams mode, only scarier. Takato decides he can't stand by and calls his parents to tell them he's going to fight. Rika and Renamon also decide to get back in the fight. Rika's mom, in a very emotional moment, gives her blessing and a new t-shirt with a whole heart on it. Finally, she's no longer the girl with the broken heart. Henry also defies his mother and decides to go fight. The hero's call is stronger. And Jeri, her stepmother, goes looking for her and discovers she's vanished from a dead-end hallway. She's become an evil Houdini. Takato and Guilmon hit a roadblock, but soon after, Rika, Renamon, Henry, and Terriermon show up. The main trio is reunited. Meanwhile, the military encounters a bunch of bizarre bird-like creatures connected to the D-Reaper. The Tamers arrive at the park just as the army starts firing on the D-Reaper. The party's about to start. The Tamers arrive at a park and come face to face with a bunch of yellow eyes staring at them. It looks like a scene from a horror movie, but it's actually the wings of some purple bird-like creatures. The Digimon figure it out instantly. That's not a Digimon, it's the D-Reaper. The gang gets out of there and decides to spend the night at the school to hide. The next day, the plan is to head to Takato's family bakery, because nothing beats warm bread after almost becoming monster food. Meanwhile, Impmon is having a really tough time. He has a note from his former owners, Ai and Mako, but he can't read, and everyone runs away from him in fear. Salvation comes from Henry's sensei, who reads the letter and finds out the girls went to their grandmother's house. Back to the main plot, Yamaki and Riley show up at the bakery, and Shibumi, who is in a coma, suddenly wakes up and appears at the Monster Maker's base. The adults gather to explain that the D-Reaper is a serious problem. Impmon finally finds Ai and Mako, who are overjoyed, apologize for fighting, and stuff him with food. Yamaki then puts the Tamers in his van and takes them all to the fight. The Digimon digivolve to their ultimate forms, but the D-Reaper is a tough nut to crack, launching missiles and even copying their attacks. Seeing the battle on TV, Impmon says goodbye to the girls, grabs a toy gun Mako gives him, and runs to help. Along the way, he achieves a warp digivolution and becomes Bilzamon. The toy gun turns into a real weapon, and he gains wings, becoming Bilzamon Blast Mode. He flies in, destroys the cable connecting the D-Reaper puppet, and allows the others to defeat it. In the midst of the celebration, Takato has a quick vision of Jeri. The news won't stop talking about the D-Reaper invasion. A bizarre red mass is growing and covering everything, and the weather is going crazy. 86 degrees Fahrenheit in the middle of February. The apocalypse is looking weird. At school, Takato tells Henry he saw Jeri, but her family said she had disappeared hours before. He has a bad feeling, sensing something is very wrong. The Tamers receive a mysterious note summoning them to Rika's house. On the way, Takato sees Jeri again. She spouts some philosophical lines about the chaos in the world and vanishes into thin air. Rainamon sensed a presence but can't tell if it was the real Jeri or a ghost. Meanwhile, the monster makers discover that the D-Reaper avoids organic matter, which is why the city's parks are untouched. The D-Reaper is like an evil vegan who doesn't eat salad. Arriving at Rika's house, the surprise, there wasn't a trap, but a feast prepared by their parents. There was even bread shaped like Guilmon's head. Elsewhere, Impmon runs into Calumon, and the two decide to team up to find Jeri, but the peace doesn't last. New D-Reaper agents, like Killer Bubbles, attack a girl named Alice and her partner Dobermon. The Tamers arrive to help, but then a giant skeletal creature appears. Wargrelmon, Rapidmon, and Talmon are no match for it. That's when Dobermon reveals his mission. He was sent by the sovereigns to give the Tamers the power to biomerge in the real world. He sacrifices himself, releasing this energy and warning them that the final war will be on Earth. Thanks to Dobermon's sacrifice, the tables have turned. Takato, Henry, and Rika can finally biomerge, transforming into Gallantmon, Mega Gargomon, and Sakuyamon. The Mega Trio arrives and starts wrecking shop, destroying a horde of D-Reaper drones. Now the fight is getting serious. Meanwhile, the support team also springs into action. Kenta, Kazu, and Suzie decide they're not going to sit on the sidelines. Kazu flies in on Guadramon, and Suzie digivolves Lopmon to Antilamon, who charges into battle alone. But the D-Reaper is no ordinary enemy. In the middle of the fight, it manages to grab Gallantmon and pull him into its red mass. Inside, the megaform can't be sustained, and he reverts to Takato and Guilmon, landing right in the middle of an untouched park. Takato barely gets up before coming face to face with Jeri. He tells her how worried he was, but she starts talking strangely about how Jeri's mind is filled with sadness. Guilmon, who is no fool, figures it out instantly. Takato, that's not the real Jeri. The imposter then reveals a pair of purple wings and introduces herself as a D-Reaper agent. Takato's suspicion was right all along. Outside, the chaos continues. Calumon tries to run into the battle, but Impmon stops him. Kazu and Guadramon finally arrive, but no one even notices them. Why? Because a new and mysterious Digimon has just appeared on the scene, stealing all the attention. In the midst of the chaos, a new Digimon joins the fray, a stylish guy who introduces himself as Justimon, but there's no time for a proper welcome, because a new D-Reaper agent, the Horn Striker, shows up to crash the party. The creature is so strong, it knocks down Mega Gargomon with a flick and immediately goes after Sakuyamon. Justimon, playing the hero, holds the monster off and yells for the others to go save Gallantmon. Meanwhile, Takato and Guilmon are on an acid trip inside the D-Reaper, trapped with a fake version of Jeri. This copy starts using the girl's memories to mess with Takato's mind, transforming into a monster with claws and wings, like a fallen angel from a nightmare. Outside, Impmon and Calumon rush to the rescue. Little Calumon acts as a Jeri GPS. They are attacked by Bubbles agents, but Impmon becomes Beelzemon blast mode and blows them all away. Beelzemon punches a hole in an invisible wall for Calumon to get through, but ends up getting captured by cables, Matrix style. Calumon even finds the real Jeri, but she's in airplane mode, completely offline. Back on Takato's bad trip, just as the Jeri monster is about to attack, who saves the day? Marine Angemon with an attack of heart bubbles. Yes, the power of love is real. The same bubbles also give a power up to Sakuyamon, who is running on empty. With the gang reunited, they escape. The fight outside continues. Justimon is taking a beating, but with the arrival of reinforcements, the tide turns. The problem is, the enemy's cable is too fast. That's where Antilamon comes in, holding the cable by force so Justimon can deliver the final blow. Teamwork. In the end, everyone recovers at Rika's house, where Suzie shares the bad news. Beelzemon and Calumon are still trapped in the D-Reaper's bubble. Inside the D-Reaper's bubble, Jeri finally says something, but it's only to say she hates Beelzemon. Harsh. The D-Reaper then takes the opportunity to torture her with nightmares about her mother's death. Meanwhile, the Tamers head to the Monster Maker's HQ, where they are upgrading the Ark and turning it into a kind of high-tech flying motorcycle called Grani. They discover that the bubble where Jeri is trapped is actually the D-Reaper's core, the villain's CPU. Jeri's father, instead of helping, freaks out and leaves the scene. Driven by guilt and desperation, Mr. Kotol steals a van and drives straight into the lion's den to try and rescue his daughter. He hears her voice, but it's coming from a new giant red monster full of mouths, the Pallet's Head. The D-Reaper scans Jeri's father's memories and becomes confused by the concept of father. It seems the program doesn't have that folder in its system. Gallantmon and Sakuyamon arrive to help, but the monster is a real tank. Justimon also shows up, but the creature regenerates and captures all three megas at once. In a masterstroke, Justimon cuts the monster's power cables, and Guadramon finishes the job with his missiles. But just when it seems to be over, an even bigger boss emerges, the Optimizer. The situation looks grim until Grani, the jet bike, is finally ready. It soars from the heavens, merges with Gallantmon, and transforms him into a super-powered cybernetic knight who destroys the Optimizer with a single blow. Things have gotten serious. The D-Reaper is now a global threat, attacking the entire world and giving even the most powerful Digimon in the digital world a run for their money. The D-Reaper's core evolves into a new form, the Gatekeeper, a giant sphere that serves as the final boss of this stage. The strategy is clear. While Sakuyamon, Mega Gargomon, and Justimon handle the horde of smaller enemies, Gallantmon, riding his new ship Grani, goes straight for the main target. The fight is so epic that it starts being broadcast worldwide. Takato's teacher and classmates see everything and begin cheering for him like it's the championship finals. Even little Suzie joins the fight, having Lopmon digivolve to Antillamon and using the card she got from Rio to give her the ability to fly. She swoops in to save Kenta and Kazu, who were surrounded. Inside the sphere, the Gatekeeper begins to taunt Beelzemon, rubbing Leomon's death in his face. This awakens Beelzemon's fury, and after a painful flashback, he decides he will save Jeri to try and redeem himself. He unleashes his most powerful attack, but it doesn't even scratch the enemy, which then destroys his weapon. When all seems lost, Yamaki hacks a satellite and tells Takato about a secret weapon on Grani. The shot finally breaks the outer barrier. Beelzemon, now in a one-on-one fight, uses Leomon's own move, Fist of the Beast King, to punch a hole in Jeri's prison. The irony is so great that Jeri finally snaps out of her trance, but her shock at seeing the scene causes the hole to close before she can escape. In a tragic end, the Gatekeeper attacks Beelzemon from behind, and he begins to fall as his data dissolves. Gallantmon, Sakuyamon, and Mega Gargomon scream for him not to give up, while I and Mako watch everything on TV, completely terrified. Inside the D-Reaper's sphere, Jeri is blaming herself for Beelzemon's death, and not even Calumon can comfort her. When all seems lost, Grani manages to catch Beelzemon, but it's too late. He has de-digivolved back to Impmon. To make matters worse, Yamaki warns the group to get out of there because the special forces are about to attack. Fighter jets begin dropping radio jammers to disrupt the D-Reaper's communications. Inside, Jeri tries to stand up to the D-Reaper, but it doesn't care and ties her up with cables. This copy merges with the Gatekeeper agent and the Hypnos towers, becoming a giant mass of cables with a head, the mother D-Reaper. The Digimon are forced to retreat, and everyone separates for a while. Meanwhile, the monster makers discover that the D-Reaper's data moves faster than light and create Operation Doodlebug to use this against it. The D-Reaper's plan is to melt the polar ice caps and flood the planet. To prevent this, Shibumi gives Henry a red card, who then summons all the Tamers for the final battle. After receiving the call, Takato says goodbye to his parents and rushes into the fight. Takato and Guilmon merge into Gallantmon and fly on Grani straight towards the D-Reaper. They enter a strange sphere, but their energy soon runs out, and they revert to Takato and Guilmon, along with Rika and Raidamon. Henry appears with Terriamon and shows them the red card that Shibumi created, the key for them to be able to fight inside. Rio also arrives, and the four Tamers use the card to enter the danger zone. Several agents try to stop them. Grani is hit and left behind. Sakuyamon manages to destroy one of the enemies, which luckily releases the cables holding Jeri. Far away, Impmon is in a funk, but I and Mako cheer him up. Suddenly, a D-Power appears and makes the two of them his official Tamers. Finally, Jeri finally understands what Leomon meant about fate and tells the D-Reaper to leave humans alone. The response? Getting tied up again. The Digimon reach the mother D-Reaper, and a hole to the digital world opens. From it emerges a new and terrifying creature, the Reaper. Gallantmon attacks, but it barely leaves a scratch. The others attack as well, but the creature is a tough one. When Sakuyamon's flames hit the mother D-Reaper, Jeri screams in pain. Gallantmon decides to go after her, but a giant pink head of Jeri appears and attacks him. As he falls, Grani appears and asks if he wants to fly. The two merge, and Gallantmon evolves into Crimson mode. With unbelievable power, he destroys the Jeri head and flies towards the girl. Gallantmon Crimson Mode charges at the Jeri-type agent. The fight is intense, but he finally destroys the villain with a punch that goes straight through its chest. With that, the real Jeri finally wakes up from her nightmare, understanding Leomon's talk about fate. Meanwhile, Mega Gargomon runs out of ammo. Sakuyamon, at her limit, gives her energy to Justimon, but his attack fails. Luckily, the Digimon Sovereigns appear and drag the Reaper back to the digital world. It's revealed revealed that Operation Doodlebug was a program called Juggernaut, which Henry's father installed in Terriamon. Mega Gargomon activates it, reversing the D-Reaper's evolution and turning it back into its harmless form. But there's a catch. The red card's effect wears off, and the Digimon separate from their tamers. In the chaos, Jeri and Calumon are saved by Takato and Guilmon, and then by Marine Angemon. Now comes the sad part. Henry's father reveals that Juggernaut has a side effect. It forces all Digimon to return to the digital world, or else they will be deleted just like the D-Reaper. The farewell is heartbreaking. The Digimon revert to their in-training forms and disappear, leaving the tamers in tears. Months pass, and life returns to normal, as if nothing ever happened. But the tamers never forget their friends. Takato, feeling nostalgic, returns to Guilmon's hideout and looks at the hole that once led to the digital world. To his surprise, he discovers that the portal has opened again.